Oh, hi everyone. So we are Team 1, and as many of you guys know, we've been working with your security and IT teams for the past few days to do a reassessment of your security posture, and we're pretty excited to show you what we found and some of the suggestions we have to improve. So first of all, I want to introduce my team. We have myself, Powell, Lena, Devin, Michael, August, and Alex. So together, we have over 10 years of industry experience working in web security and network security that we're bringing to Oui Croissant. So diving into our agenda, we first have the scope and methodology that we employ for the assessment. We have the executive summary, as well as a summary of vulnerabilities we found and remediations that we suggest. At the end, we also have a list of positives, negatives, and a Q&A at the end. The framework we employ for pen testing is the Penetration Testing Execution Standard. It's a well-known methodology to help communicate to businesses what to expect from a pen test, as well as maximize the amount of value you guys get out of it. So it includes many steps like enumeration, both passive and active, as well as threat modeling, exploitation, post-exploitation. At the end, we deliver a report so you guys can both see and understand your security posture a little bit better, and also remediate some of the stuff that we found.
Thank you, Powell. So to start off, the scope of our assessment included the web website, the production network, as well as the developer network. During our assessment, we found a total of 30 vulnerabilities, many of which were critical and high, allowing us to fully compromise all of your users and extract all sensitive client data, such as emails and date of birth, posing a high security risk to your company. In addition, we were able to compromise 6 out of your 7 company devices, allowing us to take full control over all your employee accounts. However, despite these vulnerabilities we found, something we found positive was that out of the vulnerabilities we found in the last assessment, half of them were remediated. So we suggest going through our penetration testing reports and patch these vulnerabilities as soon as possible to improve the confidentiality, integrity of your company.
Thank you, Lena. After our assessment, we categorized our 30 findings into 5 different risk categories. Those categories being critical, high, medium, low, and informational. The most important category being critical, which we found 7 vulnerabilities that are posing an existential threat to Oui Croissant and should be patched as soon as possible. You can do so by following the instructions inside of our final report. Your IT team did a good job working with us and remediating several of the vulnerabilities from the first assessment. However, as you can see from this chart, there's still several vulnerabilities still present from the first assessment. The most important being a critical vulnerability that is still present and should be patched as soon as possible.
Devin. While we did find negatives, there were also some positives. For example, remediation. We found that in the previous assessment with Flakebook, there was an authentication problem, which meant that users or hackers were able to make posts in the name of any other users or to change the profile pictures of other users. And if users find out that hackers can write explicit or offensive posts under their names, they will definitely leave the app and we will lose a lot of public trust. However, with the UI app, there was added authentication through cookies, which verified the identity of the users, which is a great step towards authenticating and make sure that all users trust us, that all the posts are correct and all the names are correct. Secondly, with new technology, it's great that Oui Croissant isn't falling behind other social media companies in incorporating these new technologies. For example, AI, everyone knows that AI is the next big thing. And it's great that Oui Croissant is working with these trusted big companies such as Scan Guardian AI and Scale AI. And one common pitfall is that companies often jump on the train too quickly and they don't do proper testing of these new technologies before uploading them to the public. But Oui Croissant uses companies and also sends these technologies to us, which improves the security posture greatly. And finally, with the username confidentiality, unfortunately, it was quite easy to find the IDs of all of the users. However, the usernames were quite hard to find, and this is important because we were able to reset the passwords to anything we wanted to, and to be able to brute force the passwords. However, we can't actually get in without the usernames. So keeping these usernames confidential helped us, or stopped us from being able to basically get into any accounts from our free will.
Thank you, Michael. Now moving on to areas of improvement. One of the biggest themes that we found in the vulnerabilities during our assessment was that access controls were still a bit lax. Although they were remediated compared to Flakebook, we found that users were able to post, ban, and edit user information without authorization. And we suggest looking at the zero trust security model to improve why and prevent this from happening. On a related note, we also found that why was divulging more information than necessary, such as users' date of birth and authorization IDs, and we suggest increasing communication in the development team to reduce the amount of unnecessary information that is given out. As always, we suggest updating your software. During the engagement, we found that many of your services were out of date, and it is one of the easiest ways to help stay secure. Finally, we found that the password policies on password reset on Y was insecure. And you've all seen it before, people using password 1 to create their password and getting hacked. But by preventing people from using insecure passwords, it greatly increases Y security.
Thank you, Alex. In conclusion, while WISE security posture has improved since our last engagement, with around 50% of vulnerabilities patched, there still remains work to be done in order for WISE to become the best version of itself. Vulnerabilities still impact WISE's ability to reach its customers safely and securely. However, the future looks bright. WISE has been cooperative thus far with security assessments and remediation practices. Ultimately, as WISE continues to grow, it's important that the company maintains best security practices and improves their security posture. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. And now we're more than happy to take some questions that you guys still have in your mind.
Yeah, thanks. Very good. You actually already answered my first question because my team is telling me that the zero trust model is probably the right one here. So I appreciate the confirmation that that's on there. I got to tell you, I'm going to stop me in my tracks pointing out that I've got 1,000 clients affected. And so I'd like to hear more about that. What specifically in those recommendations, what specifically do I do about the fact that I've just discovered I've got 1,000 clients that have been affected?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, we'd like to mention, it's not like 1,000, it's every single customer that's using Flakebook, their PII, including names, emails, and date of births can be leaked. And in terms of what you can do around this is implementing the best authorization controls. For example, there are some endpoints that your website is making requests to that are unauthenticated, allowing you guys to access all this information, as well as the Postgres database, or essentially a database that someone can access. There's vulnerabilities related to that as well. So mitigating access to that and implementing least privilege is essentially the best thing you can do.
Okay, cool. And have you adopted either like a relative risk model on all these recommendations, or have you even looked at one of the quantified risk models out there like OpenFair?
Yeah.
So I can get a good sense of what's most important.
So we're currently using CVSS to assess the risk of these things, and we're categorizing, as we said before, 4 different categories in terms of critical, high, medium, informational, or low. And there's also a numerical value that's associated with it. And this essentially looks at how risky it is to have these vulnerabilities, as well as how likely it is to impact your systems, and that type of deal.
Okay. Okay, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks so much.